Hello dear students. So we were studying about the agents of pollination in the last lecture. We already had seen that how biotic factors as well as abiotic factors can serve as agents of pollination, right? In the abiotic factors we had already discussed about the water and the pollination by air. Right? We had seen the characteristics of those flowers which get pollinated by the water or by air. Then we also had seen different kinds of the modifications or mechanisms which exist in flowers and different types of the pollination strategies which are operated when there is a abiotic factor involved in the pollination. Now we will discuss about the pollination which is brought about by the biotic agents. Okay. So what are the biotic agents? Biotic agents are nothing but they are certain living organisms, mostly animals, which help in the process of the pollination. That means these animals somehow by some mechanism they will take the pollen from the anther and they will help in the transfer of the pollen from anther to the uh, stigma of the female portion or the gynecium of the carpel, right? So we already have seen different characteristic features which should be there in the flowers. So first let us see what are the biotic pollinators, what are the organisms which help in the pollination. Then we will see the floral characteristics. So as we all know that there are many plants, okay, which they can help in the pollination. उसके बाद there are many bees, okay, like honeybee or some other kind of bee also. They will help in the pollination. Then there are many wasps, right? Ants also help in the pollination. Similarly, there are some birds which help in the pollination. Example of the birds which help in the pollination. For example, there is one sunbird. There is another beautiful bird which you can see some picture or some videos in it. That is the hummingbird, which is a very small and beautiful bird, and it just becomes stable around the flower and it visits the flower because it wants the nectar from the flower, and then it helps in the pollination because while it is trying to extract the nectar from the flower, the pollen grain will come and attach to the bird and it will be transferred. Then there are several wasps. So now there are moths, right? Moths. Then butterflies. Butterflies also help in the pollination. Birds also help in the several kinds. So let me tell you that the flies and the bees, they are the majority of the, they contribute for majority of the biodiversity. That means the pollination, most of the pollination is brought about by the living organisms. Majority of that is brought about by the bees. So they are the major ones, right? So after these organisms, small organisms, small birds, small. Okay. These birds are also very small. Okay. There are some more organisms which help in pollination. What are those organisms? Certain larger animals you can, so you are given an option of larger animals in time, certain larger animals, for example, beaver. Okay, they also help in the pollination. What are the lemurs? They are the kind of organisms which belong to the category of the primate. They are kind of primate. So if somebody says that certain primates are also involved in the pollination, don't get confused or don't get surprised. Okay? Lemurs are small, I think this much size, okay, as far as I understand. They are small size and very old ancient ancestors of the primates, or you can say humans. So they also help in the pollination of the certain flowers. Then there are certain arboreal organisms. What is the meaning of arboreal organisms? Arboreal organisms are trees, those which can climb over the tree, and rodents means चूहे वगैरह के लिए पाउस इन सबको rodents की category में रखा है. Arboreal rodents, that means those mice or rats which can climb on the tree and they can reach the flowers, and they also help in the pollination of certain flowers. Then there are certain reptiles also. Okay. They are also helpful in the pollination. For example, there is gecko lizard. Gecko lizard is a fish. You might have heard about the name of gecko. So gecko also helps in pollination of certain flowers. And in addition to gecko lizard, there is this garden lizard and common lizard. This also can help into the pollination. Then surprisingly, certain snakes also help in the pollination. Okay? For example, you would have heard that there are certain snakes which actually remain attached to the particular plant. उसको बोलते हैं चंदन का पेड़. चंदन के पेड़ पे सांप लिपटे रहते हैं, राइट? तो वो उसमें हेल्प कर सकते हैं पॉलिनेशन में. So this is a sort of mirrored example for replication of the pollination. However, it conducts the pollination. So now we have seen several examples of the biotic of the animals which help in the pollination. So what is the requirement for the pollination? These organisms, they actually have adaptation. So adaptation is very important. There are many flowers, many species, and there is a one-to-one adaptation. Okay. So many times certain animals or certain organisms are adapted to certain category of the flowers. So there is mutual adaptation between the plant and animal species. And this adaptation sometimes is so strong that there is a one-to-one relation for the adaptation. For example, a particular plant is not able or not capable to complete its life cycle without the fertilization, rather without the pollination brought about by that particular organism. Okay. So these organisms are adapted. They regularly visit those plants, and those plants also are dependent on those organisms of the pollination. That is why it is said that if the population of the butterflies or the bees or the honeybees comes down drastically in a given area because of the use of either weedicide, herbicide or pesticide, they will have a damaging effect on the ecosystem. And because these insecticides will kill these biotic pollinators, so it will have a very adverse effect on pollination. And if there is no pollination, there will be no fertilization. If there is no fertilization, there will be no sort of seed production. There will be reduced crop yield. So the pollination depends on these biotic agents, and survival of these biotic agents is very essential for the development. Now we were discussing about the organisms. So these organisms, for example, it's a butterfly. Okay. So this should be to that particular flower. Okay. It should visit to that particular flower. And then this pollen grain which remains or which sticks to this pollen grain has to be sticky. Okay, otherwise it will fall down. We have to convert it. The pollen grain needs to be sticky. So this is also an important point to watch. Now, what are the features which are required for these flowers? These flowers also should have certain modifications, and if the flower is having these features, it will be easier for the flower to help in the pollination or to undergo pollination with the help of it. So what are those features? As I had indicated somewhere in the beginning of your pollination, that the flowers are usually large. Okay. So these flowers will get pollinated by the biotic agents. We are talking about them only. These flowers are usually large. Okay. Their pollinators are sticky, we already have seen. Then these flowers also usually they are colorful, so that these bees or butterflies or other organisms will be attracted towards them. Okay, so they should be colorful. Various kinds of the colors have to be there. Then they have certain order. Okay. For example, many beetles, okay, they are attracted because of the order of the flower, and they go to the flower because of the order, and they will get help in the pollination. So then in addition to that, certain nectar is also produced by certain flowers, and this nectar is feeded upon by these visiting guests, right? So this nectar can serve as food and even pollinate. So this nectar was to reward, and because of this reward offered by the flower, these agents can regularly visit and they will help in the pollination. So these are different features. The flowers will have regular nectar, they will be more successful. So in this way, the flowers with good amount of the nectar will be selected as compared to the flowers of that species which have lesser amount of the nectar. So pollination many times we can also by organisms. So this was about if the flower is large. Usually, sometimes if the flower is small, then what happens? It will be arranged in the inflorescence. You all know about inflorescence, right? What is inflorescence? If there are so many flowers which are arranged on the same peduncle, okay, cluster of the flowers together, this is called as inflorescence. So if the flower is very small, the butterfly may not see it or may not get attracted towards it, but if so many flowers are clustered together, it will be easily noticeable, and its effects, whatever, if it is order or nectar, it will be abundantly available and will attract these guests for the pollination. Right? So these are the features of the flower. Now let us see certain examples. There is a flower which is a very famous flower, and you must remember its name because it has been asked many times into the competitive examination. Its name is Amarphophallus. Okay, this is the biological name. So what is Amarphophallus? It's a starless flower organ. Okay, starless flower organ, and it is actually a inflorescence. And it is 6 feet high. 6 feet high. So as long as a long person, right? We Indians are usually 5 feet or 5.5. Europeans are usually 6 feet high. So this flower is 6 feet high. That is the inflorescence. A huge trunk and the tallest flower. So what happens that there are certain species which visit it, and this Amarphophallus provides shelter for the eggs of that particular species. So these species come and visit the Amarphophallus, fertilize and help in the pollination, and what return they get the shelter for the eggs. That means the Amarphophallus flower provides a place, a space where these visiting animals or these flies, they can lay their eggs and the eggs can hatch. Okay, once they hatch, the larvae come out and the ovule will develop and can make the perfect seed. So in this way, Amarphophallus is also actually very big flower, and this is pollinated by the biotic agents. Another very interesting example is the plant of yucca. Yucca is the name of the plant, and this is fertilized by moth. So yucca is a plant which is fertilized by moth, and this is a very sort of unique symbiotic relationship. Very unique symbiotic relationship. That means the plant cannot complete its life cycle without the help of the moth, because it is the only moth which will help the yucca plant to get pollinated. And moth also cannot complete because yucca plant provides the site for laying of the eggs of the moth. Okay, so they both are dependent on each other. So eggs are made in locule of yucca. You already know what is locule. Okay, what is locule? Locule is an empty space. It's a empty space inside the ovary in which ovule is located. So locule के अंदर जाकर के ये moth वहाँ पे अपने अंडे देता है, अपने eggs देता है, and these eggs are there. They are hatched. The larvae are produced, and these larvae come out after the fertilization has happened, and once they have come out, the seed development takes place and the complete seed is ready. So in this way, both are so much dependent on each other that they cannot complete their life cycle without the help of it. So they are dependent on each other for life cycle. So they are dependent for life cycle. And larvae come out as the seed start developing. So this is a very important point. Okay. So now we have discussed so many points about the biotic agents, how they help the pollination. So this topic is completed over here. We have already discussed about the abiotic factors, and we have discussed about the biotic factors. These examples are very important, which I have given you: flies, moths, wasps, right? So you must remember these examples because they are important from board as well as from main point of view. So now, after having completed the agents of pollination, we will discuss the next topic, which is outbreeding devices. So just write down this title in your notebook and let me explain to you what is outbreeding devices and why it is important. Outbreeding devices. So as you all know that whenever there is pollination, there are three kinds of the pollination we can see. Okay, three kinds. What is the both? The first is autogamy, where the pollen from the same flower is transferred to the stigma of the same flower. Then there is deitonogamy. What is deitonogamy? The pollen from the same flower, the pollen from a different flower gets transferred to the stigma, but it is on the same plant. So it is deitonogamy. Then third is the xenogamy, where the pollen is coming from different plant or different flower, which is unrelated, right? So you all know that if there is autogamy, it will lead to the self-pollination, right? So self-pollination will lead to actually uh, aggregation. Self-pollination will lead to aggregation of the similar alleles, because we already have discussed the genetics chapter. So I can use these terms over here. Self-pollination will lead to aggregation of the similar alleles, and recessive alleles will get accumulated because of the self-pollination. Okay. So what will happen that if there is a continued self-pollination, what will happen? It will lead to inbreeding depression. Right? So continued self-pollination will lead to inbreeding depression. What is inbreeding depression? I think you all know. Inbreeding depression is a process where, because of the self-pollination or because of the self-fertilization, the yield of the crop or the vigor of the plant is reduced. And this inbreeding depression is observed not only in the plant but in the animals also. If there is a inbreeding, the useful features between uh, the useful features for the various plants and animals will get reduced, and that is the reason exactly that why hybrid seeds or hybrid breeds are actually very commonly used by the farmers, because hybrid seeds are more productive, they give more quality, better quality and better yield. And inbreeding depression causes reduce in the yield, okay, and reduce in the quality, reduce in the milk production, reduce in the meat production. All these problems are caused because of the inbreeding depression. So, so I'm trying first to tell you what is the concept, okay, then we will come to what is outbreeding devices. So what happens usually, most of the flowers, mostly flowers are bisexual, right? So mostly flowers are bisexual or hermaphrodite. What does it mean? It means that the flower will have ambrosia as well as it will have the gynosia. Both the portions will be there. Okay? So because it has the androecium as well as gynecium, the pollen can be transferred very easily. And majority of the flowers are bisexual. Okay. So because of this, there is a risk that these flowers will go continued self-pollination, which will eventually lead to a problem for these species or for these flowers. So how to overcome that? For that, there are various mechanisms which have developed in the nature which suppress the inbreeding or which suppress the self-pollination and which help in the outbreeding or which help in the cross-pollination. Okay, so that is the part of the outbreeding. So how nature accomplishes this outbreeding? How nature avoids the self-pollination? That is what we are going to discuss. Okay. So these hermaphrodite flowers or the bisexual flowers, they have both the portions. Male part of the flower which is androecium and female part of the flower which is gynecium. Right? So the anther will develop the pollen grain and the stigma will be ready to receive the pollen grain. And once pollen grain lands on the stigma, what happens? That the male gametes are carried down towards the ovule where the egg is there and the female gamete can fertilize. Okay, so this is the process you all already understand. So now, if there is most of the flowers are hermaphrodite, but I already have told you that self-pollination is rare. Okay, in nature. Most of the flowers, majority of the flowers, they are not self-pollinated. So how do they avoid the self-pollination? Now there is a same androecium and the androecium and gynecium are present in the same flower. So if you imagine, I already had hinted you while discussing in earlier lectures that if the anther, when anther becomes mature, the pollen grains become ready and pollen grains are placed or they are shed and these mature pollen grains are ready to go to another flower or to gynecium for fertilization. So the maturation of the pollen grain is a necessary requirement. Right? Similarly, when the pollen grain which is mature, when it lands on the stigma of the carpel, the receptivity of the stigma is also important. So, right? So, what is meaning of the receptivity? When the pollen grain is landing on the stigma, so this is the okay. So when pollen grain comes over here, this stigma should be mature enough. If it is just developing or if it has weathered away, if it has aged, it will not be. It should also mature so that it can receive this and it can start the interaction. Okay. So the maturation or receptivity of the stigma is also important. So what is needed? For example, when there is a transfer which is coming from either from different flower or from the same flower, this maturation and this receptivity, both should be synchronous. Okay. Right? What does it mean? The development of the male gamete and development of the female gamete has to be synchronous, only then self-pollination will take place in the bisexual flowers. Right? If in a bisexual flower there is asynchronous development of the androecium and gynecium, it It will not help in the pollination because if the pollen grain is mature but the stigma is not mature, it is not receptive, what will happen? It will not result into the successful pollination. Right? Similarly, if the pollen, if the stigma has matured, it is ready to receive the pollen grain, but the pollen grain has not matured yet. What will happen? It will receive some other pollen grain from somewhere else and it will do the pollination. It cannot keep waiting for the pollen grain from the same flower. So that means the synchronous development of the male and female in the bisexual flower is important for self-fertilization. If synchronous development is not there, there will be no self-fertilization. So this is the first point. Right? To avoid the self-pollination and to perform the outbreeding in the bisexual flower, the first important point is that they should be synchronous. Okay? The second point is proximity. What is the meaning of the proximity? In a bisexual flower, if this is the androgen and this is the gynoecium, the anther will visit and pollinate will follow, right? And it will help in the pollination. But suppose there is some morphological adaptation that the stigma lies much above the level of the androgen. So this pollen after it is shed, it will come down. It will go towards down, right? And this stigma will not be able to receive the pollen grain from over, right? Because of the gravitational pull. So that means now this bisexual flower, the proximity is not suitable. The physical proximity which is suitable for the pollen exchange is not there. So this will help in reducing the self-pollination or autopollination. So pollen grain and stigma, they should not be synchronized. If there has to be outbreeding, then anther and stigma, they should have different positions and only then they will help in the cross breeding or outbreeding. Similarly, if you imagine further, once the pollen grain has landed on the stigma, there will be certain interaction between the pollen grain and stigma. And you already have studied the structure of the pollen grain. What happens that there is an outer layer which is called as enzyme with the copy sporopollenin, right? And then there will be an internal layer which is continuously called as enzyme. And at certain places there will be small areas where there will be the enzyme will be absent. And these places are called as germ pores. Right? So what is the role of the germ pores? They help in the germination of the pollen grain. So once the pollen grain lands on the stigma and if the stigma is receptive, the pollen grain will start germinating. Only then it will help in the fertilization. So the third point which helps in the outbreeding is the pollen germination. So pollen germination, if pollen germination is inhibited, in many species, this is a mechanism that if the pollen from the same plant, okay, on the same plant, if it is same flower or if it is different flower on the same plant, that means in case of both autogamy as well as in the diapenogamy, if it is on the same plant, the pollen and stigma, they will have certain interaction and the pollen germination will get inhibited. It will not allow the germination of the pollen. And this is regulated by the genetic mechanism. Okay, so pollen germination, and even once it has germinated, this pollen will start growing. Okay, and this finally reaches to the end here towards the pollen. So even the pollen tube growth, so pollen germination and pollen tube growth, they both are important. Even if one of these is inhibited, it will inhibit the self-pollination or self-fertilization. So these are really caused by or brought about by the genetic mechanism. How does the plant recognize it? There are certain genetic inherent mechanisms in the plant which help it to identify, and if it is of the same genetic constitution, if it is having the same genetic makeup, if it is from the same plant, there is an inbuilt mechanism in the cells of these gynoecium and androecium which will help to identify and inhibit the pollen germination. And even if pollen germination is allowed, sometimes at pollen tube growth level it will be inhibited, and it will not allow the male gamete to reach and go to the ovule or egg for the fertilization. Okay. Now, what happens that in many plants, there are unisexual flowers. As I had told you in the beginning, that these problems were arising mainly for the bisexual flowers. But what for the unisexual flowers? For example, if you consider a plant of the male, it has a unisexual flower. So the male flower will be at the top on the crown, and female flower or the gynoecium portion, this will be somewhere lower down. Okay. So here also the plant has both the possibility of autogamy or J10. That means the pollen from the same plant also can fall over to the stigma, or pollen from okay. So this male is a typical case of the J10, not autogamy. Okay. So here in the case of the J10, again, this may be avoided by the genetic mechanisms. But what if there is some other modification? Like if the unisexual flower, instead of being present on the same plant, where there is a possibility of the J10, which is actually functionally a kind of the autogamy, right? Functionally, J10 is a genetically J10 is a autogamy. Apparently, it looks like a cross pollination, but actually, in genetic sense, it is a autogamy. So the other way is that if these unisexual flowers which are there, and if they want to avoid the self-pollination, the plant should have only one kind of the flower, so that there is no possibility of the autogamy and there is no possibility of the J10, right? So if there is certain mechanism where the unisexual flowers grow on the same kind of the single plant, for example, papaya. So I will tell you that papaya is a dioecious plant, right? What does it mean? Here, male papaya will be there, which will have only the male flower, and female papaya will be there, where it will have only the female flower. And this kind of situation is called a dioecious, right? So if such mechanism is there, obviously it is not possible to do autogamy in such kind of situations. So nature has also evolved other mechanisms. So the fourth number is unisexual flower. Okay. So unisexual flowers of the dioecious condition, for example papaya, This helps to avoid the self-fertilization. So in papaya, it is not possible at all to have autogamy. There is no possibility, zero possibility is there, right? So and this is because of the dioecious nature. So this will also prevent the autogamy as well as heterogamy. In the maize, it is possible to have the heterogamy, but in the papaya, it is not possible at all. So in this way, now we have seen that there are different possibilities, different ways how nature has evolved to solve this problem of inbreeding depression. Okay, so it may avoid the synchronous development of the male and female babies. It may avoid the proximity or the physical closeness of the anther with the stigma, so that the pollen grain is not reached to the stigma even if it is a bisexual flower. Then there is genetic mechanisms which can inhibit the pollen germination and that is pollen growth. And the last one is the evolution of the such plants where the one plant bears only one kind of the male or female flower. That means the dioecious plants bearing the unisexual flowers. There is no possibility of the self-pollination or the autogamy or the heterogamy at all in those kind of situations. So these are the devices, these are the ways which help to avoid the inbreeding depression, which help to avoid the continued self-pollination and which help in outbreeding. So these are the outbreeding devices. Okay. So now we will stop over here. Ask me if you have any doubts. Thank you.